Yes, we are ready to go, Madam Chair.
Okay, terrific. Well, welcome back everyone to our roundtable of the Washington County Board of Commissioners reconvening at 1 o'clock. We just have a few items left on the agenda. The first one is for us to have a budget sync up with our CAO in regards to input that we've been providing to her as she develops the proposed 2021-2022 budget. I just want to call all of our attention to an email that we received from Ms. Angie with a summary document, just a short 2-pager that you may want to have in front of you as she has this conversation with us. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Angie.
Thanks, Chair Harrington, Board of Commissioners. So it is just a short 2-pager. I had hoped to find more time to add additional context, but we'll just say the minutes slipped away from me yesterday. And so I do also apologize for the late day email with this information. So I do want to make a couple comments before we get into the discussion, just as far as what myself, Jack, as well as department directors have been talking about in this budget process. So we have different budget drivers or levers, and something that we are really thinking about, and I'm hearing across county departments, is that current county service personnel costs are not keeping up with revenues. And so this is something we need to continue to have our eye on. So I'm seeing, Pam, if you want me to expand that a bit more. Oh, you're muted.
Would you make the statement one more time?
Yep. Current county services personnel costs, so our personnel, are not keeping up with our increase in revenue. So personnel costs are outpacing our increase.
That's what I thought. I thought I was hearing you say the reverse, and that's why I went, what? So
I think from a staff perspective, we all wish it was the reverse.
Oh, of course, absolutely. But that's why you got the kind of quizzical face. Okay, excuse me.
And why that's really important to note is I think we can all agree that our human capital, our employees, are the most important asset in delivering services to meet community need. And so this is something that we will continue to have our eye on. One area that recently has seen this impact, for example, is juvenile services, and you received a briefing memo on juvenile within this last couple months. Also, we know that state revenue budget cuts are having an impact on departments. You've heard from community corrections, and you will continue to hear from community corrections on what impact state revenues have on their budget, as well as health and human services in this budget process. And so the other aspect that I've asked departments to look at is what do we need to do, meaning we are mandated to do, what we would like to do to meet community need, and what is in essence an expansion of service. Departments have asked to submit their budgets based on our budget target, which is a 2% reduction for general fund. In addition, they will be also submitting to meet that budget target, what will not occur. And that will be used by myself working with our CFO to balance the budget and propose that balanced budget to the board. The board will receive a list of what are we cutting or what are service reductions in this budget process. So just wanted to give you a heads up. This also will include some budget asks of departments because their budget, their allocated resources are not meeting known community need and known data points. So I just wanted to kind of highlight what may be new in this budget process, because I do think it is important that the board does hear what are the needs of the departments and have that information shared with you, as well as with the community in a very transparent manner. So are there any questions? Okay. So if you want to turn your attention to the document that I sent, that's titled Washington County Board of Commissioner Budget Priorities. So these are the budget priorities that I have heard from the board. So this process is to checkpoint if I've heard right, and then we will use these budget priorities to build the budget. So the first, oh, Jerry?
I am not finding that email in that document. So could you have somebody, or could you quickly resend that to me? Because I have been looking. Did you send it out this morning? Man,
So
I don't have it in there.
Okay, it was last night.
Okay.
Moss, can you display?
Last night at 6:53 p.m., the title was Round Space Table Space Items.
And it was from Tanya?
Yeah.
I resend it to you just now, Jerry.
And it's the last document in the list,
All right. Thank you very much.
attached files. Yeah.
So to be helpful, Clerk Moss, can you project? Thank you. Thank you. This way we're all on the same document at the same time. So the first item is Board of County Commissioners Community Engagement. So staff are currently, I think we're seeing a difference. Oh, there, it's back. So staff are working on the development of quarterly town halls. We can achieve this through our current staff resources and technology tools. So there will be no additional budgeted resources requested at this time. As the board recalls, Alan has presented county council staffing needs to date. 2 positions have been added, the senior assistant county counsel and the investigator. The other 3 positions were identified by the board, and the board directed staff to include those in this upcoming budget. So those positions include 1 to focus on the increased workload for housing and sheriff's office, and 1 for labor employment litigation, and 1 general county council workload. If you can scroll down a bit, Clerk Moss. Thank you. So we do have the facilities strategic plan, which the board will be briefed on at an upcoming meeting. It is noted here that $500,000 will be part of the budget, capital budget projects budget request that you will see in this proposed budget. And what that $500,000 is, it's not only for the strategic plan, but from the strategic plan, there will be accompanying master plan. So a further deep dive into certain parts of the facility strategic plan. So we do think that there will need to be dollars allocated on an annual basis to continue this work moving forward. We don't know what that is until we get further into the facility strategic planning process. Redistricting. The board has identified this as a priority, which is frankly a required priority. We do know that we will not receive census data prior to September 30th of this fall. We will be asking the board to consider a $75,000 placeholder in the budget for the support needs to conduct a redistricting process. The Salary Commission is actively meeting. They are scheduled to report their determinations to the board on April 27th with a backup date of May 4th. Working with Steve March, staff were intentional on the timeline to ensure that we would meet the Salary Commission findings and report and have time to include that within the proposed budget. Right now, we're estimating the budget need is $270,000. We'll learn more as the Salary Commission completes their work, though. The board recently heard a request from the Salmon Berry Trail Foundation Development Partnership. So I won't go into that detail because that was a recent conversation. It just is reflected here as a consideration in this budget process. As the board well knows, we are moving forward with our supportive housing services. As a reminder, this will not have general fund impact, but just want to let you know that you'll see it as a priority in this upcoming budget. Website infrastructure and design project. We will be continuing with our current budgeted plan. This does include $600,000 that will be included in the ITS budget request, and this will be supported by gain share funds. This was the ITS column that the board saw in a recent presentation. And then continuing our workforce pipeline work, a board priority investment of $500,000 via work systems was one-time funding when that was included in the budget. So it is exploring what additional funding, so this can be an ongoing annual effort moving forward. So staff are currently working with work systems on what that proposal could be in the budget. Jerry?
I'm sorry. Could you go back to that salary commission, that 270 number? Is there, I mean, that seems high to me, just thinking about what it possibly might be, and 4 commissioners going to full-time. That still seems like a high number to me. Could you give me some detail to that?
So this is a ballpark number estimating if the part-time commissioners, the district commissioners, would be moving to full-time. I will be honest, staff do not want to be in the position of making the determinations. So this is really just a placeholder. It could go up, it could go down, but that's really based on the salary commission's determination. So to answer your question, I really don't want to weigh in on that because it needs to be an impartial process.
Oh, yeah, I get that. I was just, the number seemed high based on my own personal calculations of what I thought that was going to cost the county for us to go full time. And so if that's okay, I can hold off on that.
Yep.
I have a question of a different type. If we go up to the redistricting, so under the county council staffing needs, you used the phraseology of to be included, right, in the budget. For redistricting, we have to do redistricting. So when you say consider the $75,000 placeholder, is that saying you're going to put that into the budget, or you're going to come back to us and ask us to consider it through potential changes to the proposed budget? So it's really, I'm trying to make sure I understand the nuance around consider.
Staff will be including the $75,000 in the proposed budget.
Okay.
We're requesting that the board consider adoption of the budget with that $75,000.
Okay. Okay. Okie doke. Similar with the word considers used on Salmonberry Trail?
Correct.
Okay. Okie doke.
So,
I wasn't sure when we had the Salmonberry Trail presentation, I wasn't sure, given that the headwinds and other factors that we were hearing about, I wasn't sure if there was going to be room in the proposed budget for it. So that's why I was using the word to consider if you can put it in, as opposed to it's a directive to put it in. So, hey.
And Chair, so departments are finalizing their budget submittal. So I don't even know fully what's coming forward from all the departments yet. We're still in that process.
Sure.
So if it would be determined, and this is my lens, And keep in mind, they'd be different funding sources, but if it would be redistricting versus Salmonberry, we have to do redistricting. And so that would mean Salmonberry may come back. I may be proposing an alternate amount, or this may not be the year, and that I would brief the board on that.
Okay, okay. The other point of clarification that I want to make, the board has control over adopting the whole budget, but it's our full suite of discretionary revenue sources. The general fund, the main general fund resource is the general fund property tax. So when you say general fund, is that including all of our discretionary revenue sources, meaning, that property tax, lottery dollars, and okay, I'm on the same page as you. Great, thank you. Other commissioner questions? Or any other direction that you want us to discuss as Ms. Angie continues her work with her staff on forming up a proposed budget?
So if I may ask, what's really important, if there is a board priority that is missing here, this is the time for me to have that information and get that feedback and direction from the board.
The one area I really appreciated the memo that you had Steve Berger put together for us for community corrections, because the services of community corrections really go towards helping our community members who've gotten into trouble get the supervision and the skill development that they need to return as productive members of our community and hopefully thrive. That could be in the form of job skill training. It could be around addiction services, mental health services. So it's not just that supervision by virtue of, parole and ankle bracelets and dormitory beds in the correction center. There's another area that I'm still trying to figure out, but I see that it's scheduled on an April work session item, and this is around arts and culture. I had some questions about our current budget to staff earlier this year, and I know you, Ms. Angie, back in January delivered to me a list of discretionary revenues that we provide to others. And knowing that we have some potential hard choices to make, as you've outlined here today, how did you put it? Things that we have to do, that we're mandated to do, things that we'd like to do, and also things that would be an expansion of services. You and my colleagues have all heard, and our community at large has heard me talking about community need, and I really appreciate how we're taking a look at that. But arts and culture, through that list of discretionary resources, I want to make sure that the proposed budget is pretty clear about that. And I'm looking forward to that April 13th presentation so I can better understand the role of the Tualatin Valley Creates and what, if any, continued resourcing we need to provide to RAC. as an example. So that's a specific area that I'm interested in learning more about.
We will make sure to include that as part of the April discussion.
Okay, great. Commissioners, are there any other areas of the budget that you want to give a heads up now? We'll certainly have the opportunity once we get the proposed budget late in April and go through the process of understanding that, reviewing that, going through discussions with our budget committee and so forth. Commissioner Rogers, did you have thoughts?
Tanya, and this is probably more than you want to deal with now, and you can take it offline with me whenever, but you've added a terrific, you and this board has added a terrific number of new positions, a lot of them in HHS, and those funds are not going to be available in the years to come. We can't, at least that's my opinion. Everybody else can have their own, but I don't think we're going to continue to get big CARES money. Are you looking at some sort of forecasting, you and Jack, so that we can see what that ramp down is, so that we're not all of a sudden caught with a cliff where it's just too much at one time to try to adjust? So how are you looking? You're saying 2% this year. I don't know what it is next and the next, but are you projecting fall offs in revenues?
So we are projecting this year and next year consecutive 2% reductions. What we do have identified in the financial forecast is with those reductions, at the same time, some strategic staffing adds. So with the cuts, we could maintain those current positions or replace those positions with different positions. So to me, that is good, I'll call it good business practice to really look at how we're operating and challenge each of us to question that on the service delivery methodology. I will say we, Washington County, need to do a deep dive into a needs analysis. I am concerned, as I've shared previously with the board, on staffing levels for some of our support services, such as our finance team. To your point, Commissioner Rogers, with anticipated new stimulus funds, if it moves forward within the federal legislature, right now we are projected to receive $118 million. We will need to add limited duration staff to be able to keep up with the work. What helped us for pushing the CARES funding out is we were able to redeploy staff from other areas of the organization to support, for example, facilities, support services. But now with COVID restrictions lifting up, and I'll use Wingspan and the fairgrounds as an example, those staff are being redeployed back to that facility. And so what has helped in a case-specific point, our communications team within the CAO, Philip and Julie, is that Lisa Dupree was spending 75-80% of her time in the CAO office. She no longer can do that, yet we are going to be moving forward with deployment of even more money than we had before. So I think it is about how we really think strategically about our workforce, standard, full-time, limited duration, and also temporary employees to meet what the demands are. So not just adding full-time resources. Did that answer your question? It may have been more information than you wanted.
No, I appreciate you're thinking about it, and I know you don't have any real answers at this point, and I just I've always been fiscally conservative, and I just think that we're in for some really difficult times, and others may want to run to the ballot box. I guess I'm not so inclined to do that, but they can speak for themselves and to their constituents at election time for that.
So to that point, that's why I believe it's important that we present a budget that is that in essence is within the bumpers of the revenues that we have, and clearly identifies, here is the services we can deliver, and here is what we're unable to because of our resources. To me, that's not only good financial stewardship, it's also transparency.
Commissioners,
Well, I'd just like to say thanks to Tanya on this. This certainly helps clarify some of the real things. I think it's interesting that in my setup here for my Zoom meetings, I have to build a little bit of a bookcase to set my stuff on so it looks right. And that is my budget summary is my pad here. So I've got my budget summary right here in front of me. If I need to look up anything, Tanya, I just want to let you know, always close at hand. It's under my pillow at night, those kinds of things. But really though, I do appreciate this. This helps me with what I would call kind of the intangibles that aren't in the mainstream of our budget process. So it helps me get that. So thank you for providing this.
okay, well, go ahead, Commissioner Treese.
I think one other thing that I'm having to kind of wrap my head around as we go through this budget, and maybe this is in reaction to what Commissioner Rogers said, you know, when we look at the money that is coming in from the SHA bond and the positions related to those, we're going to have to learn to be more compartmentalized about how we're thinking moving forward. You know, I think that we can't get the money without having the resources to execute on what the goals are. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe that didn't make sense.
So we are clearly we're clearly accounting for SHS dollars and ensuring that SHS dollars are spent for SHS activities. And this is how housing, and I believe it was recent item, one of the commissioners had asked in essence about software. I think it was maybe you, Chair, the software housing uses to account in essence for cost. And recently, Jack, Comey, and I met on this, as well as CN Ruth, to ensure that we were all on, in essence, the same page, and we have a good plan moving forward. So I'm very confident that in the future, if there are requests, we'll be able to clearly show dollars in are directly aligned with dollars out.
Our staff does a good job in managing all the different funds, and we just have one more big dedicated revenue source, right? And I know our staff will do a good job of letting us know if that dedicated resource goes into an existing special fund or if they need to create another one. So they've done a really good job of letting us know how, at least for these two major program increases with the affordable housing bond as a significant new funding source, as well as with HHS with its new funding source, how they're managing, putting together the teams and managing all that accounting. So thank you, Ms. Angie. If you can pass on our appreciation, that's great. Any other questions or thoughts, commissioners? Well, thank you, Ms. Angie, for helping us have our minds set up with the direction, a simple summary of the direction you've been hearing from us. You've got at most another 5 weeks before you deliver that final proposed budget to us for consideration. So those 5 weeks will go by quickly. Great, terrific. So then with that done, we can move over to our next topic, which is to discuss our 2021 community engagement goals. By way of setup, we brainstormed a little bit in a prior roundtable about what our goals were. And Ms. Tillman attended that meeting, and she and Ms. Angie have put forward a reflection of what we're looking for and a approach to that. And I believe, Ms. Tillman, do you have a proposal for us to Checkpoint? Oops, you're on mute. Hi.
Am I still?
No, we
Okay.
hear you loud and clear.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Harrington and commissioners. It's really nice to see you all today. I do have a little graphic that I was going to share. I think Clerk Moss has it, and maybe could bring that up at this time. Or I could share my screen, whatever is most expeditious. You're muted.
I'm sure Kevin is getting to it. It's just we can't see him opening his window and bringing it up.
You don't know
We
the
just see
magic behind the
box that says
scenes.
Clerk
Okay,
Moss.
here it
There we go.
comes. Okay, so this is a very simple graphic that, oops, that's not mine. Okay, there we go. If you could just scroll down a little bit, Clerk Moss, I'd appreciate it. And go get all those boxes in there. And then maybe just minimize it. Yeah, a little tiny bit, because there's one more little bullet at the bottom that we just want to pull up. It basically says the same thing. So this graphic simplifies a lot of work that your community engagement team is available and planning to do, both on behalf of the board and the county. And the three categories represent different levels of engagement with the community in terms of leadership, where the leadership will be coming from for these engagement efforts. So the first box with the top line just barely cut off is Board of County Commissioner-led engagement efforts. And so that includes your quarterly town halls, right? The first of which is happening this Saturday. And then second, providing equity, diversity, and inclusion support for liaisons who provide information to you so that you can make determinations around membership of boards and committees. So that's why that's represented in Board and County Commissioner-led engagement. The next bucket reflects the County Administrative Office-led engagement efforts, including support for our community participation organizations. Thank you, that's wonderful. Perfect. So support for our community participation organization program, the community investment conversations, which is italicized just because we are making a transition from that as a board-led engagement effort to a county administrative office-led engagement effort. And then thirdly, the Cultural Heritage Month celebrations, which you all play an important role in terms of proclamations and just creating visibility, awareness, and sharing support for those efforts. And then the third bucket is county engagement. So not necessarily Board of County Commissioner engagement, but we want you to be aware and know that we're doing this level of work related to best practices for equitable, diverse, inclusive community engagement for departments. And that relates to both, again, how we support work of engaging diverse representation on boards and committees. So after appointment, how are they feeling welcomed? What are the processes that are being used to make sure that people feel included, as well as other community engagement strategies that will support our employee diversity work, as well as our supplier procurement diversity work. So yes, that's all I have to share. And so now it just want to turn it back over for your feedback and comments.
Thank you. I have a clarifying question. In the first column, BCC-led engagement on boards and committees or boards and commissions.
Yes.
It says EDI support for liaisons. What I'm curious about is, I assume that acronym means equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm not, okay. I'm reminding myself, we asked specifically as a board to try and increase our equity across each of those and diversity and whatnot. Okay.
Yes.
I get it. But your department, I think why I was puzzled by this is your department, community engagement, equity and community engagement, equity, inclusion, and community engagement. Sorry, it's a long one. Community engagement runs that, the underlying technology, right? And helps us welcome and invite community members to apply. So this discussion and my asking about the clarity did remind me of what that meant. You're not going to stop that work that you do to help those. So got it.
No,
okay.
it's a little bit of chicken and egg kind of dynamic. There's a lot of background work that happens so that you all have what you need to approve an increasingly diverse representation on boards and commissions. But your leadership is in approving the recommendations or making determinations of who you appoint to those boards and commissions that align with your equity, diversity, and inclusion goals.
Thank you. I completely follow. Other commissioners? Does this look like the service level that you were hoping for? Not only in this calendar year, but moving forward into the completion of our next fiscal year, even maybe? Thank you, Commissioner Treese. Thumbs up.
If I could ask a question of Tanya, since the middle one is the CAO-led engagement part of it, is I'm assuming that this is a good, I guess, recap of what it is your expectations of this process was as well. So you're good with this. I mean, obviously, if you weren't, you'd have had the conversation already. But I mean, I just want to make sure that because it is in 3 different buckets, that we're kind of all in agreement with this versus just us saying, yeah, it looks good to us, and maybe we missed something in one of the other buckets. So we're okay with all of that. I just need a confirmation of that.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Commissioner Willie. And what I like about the buckets is it helps clarify the work and how we work in partnership together to forward these goals. So I wanted to just highlight that and also underscore back to our previous conversation relative to budget. To accomplish this, we do not need additional resource needs at this time. We can work within our existing resources.
So the bullet, if I understand it correctly, because I've seen prior drafts of this, where it says CAO-led engagement, it really refers to the second bullet of indirect board engagement.
Yes.
Any other questions, thoughts? Commissioner Treese gave a thumbs up earlier. Commissioner Fye, Willie, and Rogers, you okay with this?
I'm okay. Just wanted to make sure I understand the BCC-led engagement, quarterly BCC town halls. Does that, I'm not sure I understand what that means. I understand we're going to be doing town halls, but is the count, like, where does the commissioners fit in this, and where's the staff support fit in?
So this goes back to that memo that Elizabeth put together, working with our staff team. So staff is here to help ensure that we have the infrastructure that's needed to make sure the meetings are advertised, announced, recorded. But it's really, these are our board town halls. And we, as you saw in our board initiatives for this year we're planning to have one per quarter. It's a goal. And we try to set them up just as we talked about at the February roundtable. You know, we have a proposal of specific dates, at least, well, we strive for about 6 weeks ahead of time and pick a time and date that works for all of us. And that's why we chose this Saturday for the first one this calendar year and go from there. Does that answer your question or?
Yeah, a little bit. I think what I was trying to ask was, there is a role for the staff, the CEO office, to help with this. I'm just trying to figure out, is the responsibility to engage the community ours, or will the staff be able to help just like they're doing with this one, the first one we're doing coming up this weekend? And also, like, if we were to facilitate the opportunity to have different language accessible to these town halls, I'm just not understanding, I guess, the responsibilities between the commissioners and the staff and when it comes to the town halls. But
so, okay, so let me try this again. And Elizabeth will be reissuing the memo to us. You have a memo previously from Elizabeth earlier this year that outlined that staff will be helping us with the infrastructure of hosting these town halls and making sure that gets done right. We're the hosts as the board. So we're there to hear people's questions and to try to answer those questions. Our policy assistants will be there in order to help capture those questions and to know who's on the town hall, such that if we are not able to answer someone's question right then and there, that will be noted and captured. We'll have the contact information in order to respond after the town hall back to folks. But it's very much a short town hall. People have the opportunity, as we've proposed for this town hall, to hear what our priorities are for this year. You'll each get to speak to your priorities, and then we'll open it up for questions, and people will be able to ask us whatever kind of question. We may not have the answers right in that town hall, and that's okay. Those questions will be noted, and we'll have the opportunity to work with staff to get closure on that.
And if I might add, Chair Harrington, we will continue to be available as your community engagement team to provide the technical support. One of the things to note is that with Zoom, the technology limits us to one language for simultaneous translation. So that's one of the limitations that we're working with right now, and then trying to identify other potential strategies or technology that can support us in providing more diverse language access.
Will the Zoom town hall on Saturday also be either broadcast? Will it be streamed on our county YouTube channel as well?
I don't want to misspeak. I believe it will be broadcast on the YouTube channel, and we also are looking at doing closed caption transcripts, and then in the following the town hall, we can have that translated or dubbed into another language. So it
Wow.
wouldn't be real-time language access, but it would be language access.
Cool.
Will there be like a sign language interpreter?
Yes. So I'll just reiterate that's, and it will be streamed live, but that is the ongoing community engagement technical support that we will provide. So the board is the lead on it, but it doesn't mean you're out there by yourself.
So this will be our first town hall for 2021. Last year, we had 2 Zoom town halls that were COVID focused. So this is our first general one. And last year, when we started the year, we thought these would be physical, face-to-face town halls. And we delayed and in a quarterly scheme, and we delayed all that and then pivoted to having those 2 COVID-specific town halls, one in May, which was our first ever, and then the second one in December. So I'm sure we will learn more and adapt and evolve from there. So good questions, Commissioner Fye. We do know that we'll be getting a more detailed overview from Elizabeth tomorrow morning, as she mentioned earlier in the meeting. So hopefully that will address any other questions we may have for Saturday's town hall. Great. Any other questions, pieces of feedback from the board on this? No? Well, thank you, Ms. Tillman. I really appreciate your engaging with us on that. And I think you and the members of your team should walk away from all this knowing that you're definitely delivering on our needs, and we're appreciative of that.
Chair,
That's
one question
wonderful to hear.
before Latricia leaves. You had asked for an update on land acknowledgement, and to bring that back during this discussion. So I would like, I'd like Latricia to give an overview because her team's been working on that before she leaves.
Thank you, Miss Angie. Let me pull that up. And I'll just start by saying our intention around the land acknowledgements is that we begin with engagement and participation of the diverse Indigenous community that has a current presence here in Washington County and has historical presence. So this spring we'll be focusing on those connections and relationship building, building an advisory committee. We will provide an interim statement to staff about the importance of land acknowledgement and the process, as well as milestones. And then one of the dynamics that we're looking at also is the need to compensate and value community members who are providing their expertise to us in this process as equal partners. We will establish an advisory committee later this spring and expect that to carry on for several months so that by the summer We feel like we should be able to have a draft land acknowledgement, which we can then use our internal process through the Equity Leadership Council to advance, and then bring that forward to you as the board for adoption.
I have a question about uses of the land acknowledgement, because I would really like us to be informed by best practices. I've seen some jurisdiction use it in select meetings, or is the best practice do it in every public meeting? So I really need some good guidance on that, because the outcome that I'm looking for is to be respectful. And that means different things in different people's eyes or viewpoints. And I just really need some rock solid best practice guidance on it.
Yes, and that's why we want to center the voice of the voices of the Indigenous community, so that we can bring forward to you what is respectful to them versus what feels comfortable or respectful to us, where there may be some difference.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that assurance.
Happy to.
Commissioners, do you have any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Angie, for reminding us to bring this to closure. Good job. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Ms. Tillman.
Thank you all for
it. Okay. The last item on our agenda is to sync up on some items that we had on the agenda for consideration at our February 4th roundtable, but our good discussion on other topics in the meeting didn't allow us to discuss these items. So we just carried them forward to this meeting. There are 4 particular ones that were on that laundry list. And so I'll just summarize them now, if I might. Reimagine Oregon. So we are all familiar with how that slate of ideas and the engagement occurred on that. There were early pieces of legislation that the People of Color Caucus of the state legislature took to special sessions in 2020. And now with the state legislative session of 2021, they have additional bills that they are considering. So I have observed that. I've also observed how some of our peer agencies are taking an approach that I label as an embedded approach. Really embedding, okay, how are we making sure that we are looking at equity, how we are making sure that as we consider policy changes or program delivery, how we are challenging ourselves to advance and make up for harmful practices of the past. And it really is that intention of overcoming the harm of past practices. I think it could be worth our taking a look at that. But as I think about this, I'm also very mindful of how full our agendas are, how full our plate is, and how much work Ms. Angie and our staff are doing to deliver our services. So now I'm segueing into my own thought on this. It feels more comfortable to me to just follow this major work, but let me stop myself here and just summarize the four. Reimagine public safety. We do have a little bit of or a touch point on this one, where in an April session, Representative Campos and staff from Representative Bynum's office, Janelle Bynum, will be coming to a work session in April, as we can see in the rolling agenda. On the behavioral health side of things, we have the work going forward with our committees, as well as our addictions treatment and triage program. So I don't know that we have anything left on that one to discuss. Then ESPD, the local option levy for 2022. I just wanted to see if we want to talk about process outcomes for that journey and any particular things that we as a group want to ensure we share with Ms. Angie, so that as we move forward, we're informed about what the ESPD level includes. What I know I have some specific information needs that I know I want to have followed up on before we are in a position of having to move forward with referral. So that's the quick summary on those four. What are the commissioner thoughts? I can run down them real quick again and share with you my proposal. Okay, that seems okay, Commissioner Willie. I would say on Reimagine Oregon, let's keep going, doing what we're doing with our equity resolution. You know, as I know, I've seen other jurisdictions take this embedded approach. We can come back to it and learn from them about how that has worked for them with their portfolio, and see in 2022 if there's something we want to take on. From my standpoint, we have a pretty ambitious slate of 2021 initiatives already. So as there's legislation, great, let's consider it. But any other thoughts? I'm proposing let's not do anything specific. Let's just stay in learning mode. Thumbs up?
Well, I understand what our slate looks like, and I understand what, you know, what we're up against, both from a staff perspective and frankly what the board's doing. I'm a little uncomfortable about moving too far away, and from Reimagine Oregon, because and maybe the way to stay closer for me is to have maybe updates at work sessions or roundtables into the future, so that we are staying connected and we have an awareness level that doesn't put us behind the curtain, but puts us right at the curtain. That makes sense. I'm just a little concerned about being not perceived to be listening. I want to give every message that we are.
Well,
And that doesn't,
okay.
does that mean do we have to pony up the money that we talked about? That's another.
So Reimagine Oregon wasn't asking us for money. Reimagine Public Safety was.
Yeah, okay. It's just my preference to be inviting to them. And I'm not sure what that looks like, Chair.
I'm not sure.
I know, I'm working through it.
Okay.
So
what I do know is for Reimagine Oregon, that there are several bills that have been proposed and are working through the legislature. I don't know of any other asks that have been made of us, but I know that Elizabeth can certainly help remind me. later and we can come back to this. I don't see, knowing what we already have on our plate for March and into April, I don't think we have anything to come back to, but I'll checkpoint with her and make sure I'm not missing something. And if we have something more, I'll bring it back. How's that?
That's good.
Okay.
Are there any other comments about that from anyone else? Okay.
Reimagine public safety. That's the one where there was the ask for $50,000 a year
Lamar?
for I can't remember how many years. And related to that, we have that work session item because that effort too has had the opportunity of some additional, perhaps has had the opportunity of additional grant funding from the state legislature. So I think we'll have to come back to that one in April by virtue of that work session. Okay, does that sound thumbs up? Okay. Behavioral health, I noted we have, the committee stuff we've worked through today, and we have that work session item coming up. So I don't think there's anything more on this one, actually. We also, I have to keep reminding myself, we also have the benefit of that December 8th information that, was it Mira? No, it wasn't Mira, Samantha, who presented on it.
Kristen Burke.
Kristen Burke, thank you, presented on it, and they are coming back to us. They're doing some further investigations, and I always have to go back to that presentation because it talked about what they were investigating in the timeline. So I have every confidence in them to come back to us in accordance with that. Ms. Angie?
Yeah, to be specific, that is on the rolling agenda on April 13th. It's titled HHS Behavioral Health Crisis System Response Mapping. So this was looking at the system and where there's gaps within our current behavioral health system.
Awesome. Thank you for that reminder. And then for ESPD, on that one, I know I want to make sure that I have the benefit of being informed by what are the needs of the UUAs for that service patrol as we find ourselves now in 2021 and project out for at least two more 6-year cycles of the levy. So that I don't know if this year, if the service level and needs are such that we only need to do a renewal. I've heard initially from the sheriff that the personnel costs for the ESPD funded services exceeds that of the current levy. So I assume that there's the possibility of the need for a referral. So, but before they come to us and say, are you willing to refer it? I want to know what is the appropriate service level for the patrol for the urban unincorporated areas for at least 2 levy cycles. So, and usually our staff in the form of Philip works with the Public Safety Coordinating Committee that I know Commissioner Willie serves on. Commissioner Fye and I are both watching. That there's usually engagement there to help bring information forward. So I want to make sure that last time we did a referral, we had our first conversation about it in like July of 2019 towards the May 2020 election. So I would like us to make sure that we're not letting time get away from us and end up in a rush.
So I can provide an update on that as well.
Excellent.
That is currently scheduled on the April 6th rolling agenda. I will indicate April 6th is overbooked though, so we may need to push this out to May. But that is a process check-in with the board. Erin Calvert, Deputy County Administrator, will be coordinating the process this year due to Philip needing to focus on other communication needs. So this is a helpful conversation to help inform that conversation with the board.
Yeah. So what I'm really looking for process outcome wise is that we on the full board have the opportunity of knowing what do we have now, what are the needs moving forward, and that there is that that survey community input opportunity. Do you commissioners have any other needs, outcomes, desired outcomes out of a process to go through looking at entertaining a referral for the Enhanced Sheriff Patrol District?
I'm going to request a meeting with Erin, if that's okay with you, Tanya. Just kind of a general overview, where we've been, where we are now, what independently. I hope you're okay with that. And another person, not everybody, could join me on that briefing if you'd like.
Well, I think you and Commissioner Fye have the biggest areas of the urban unincorporated area. Commissioner Rogers has some, but a much smaller portion, just a slice of Garden Home and Metzger. Commissioner Fye's district includes part of Garden Home and then poof, Aloha, whatnot. Commissioner Willie, I thought your district was all City of Hillsborough, Cornelius, Forest Grove, and then rural, a lot of rural.
Yeah, basically go Cornelius Pass north to the Sunset Highway and south, wandering clear to the Yamhill County border. So up and over Bald Peak and all of that. It kind of wanders through the hinterlands in there. So Roy's got whatever's south of that. So
yeah, ESPD doesn't include the rural area, just the urban unincorporated.
I don't think I have any of the ESPD.
Okay, yeah. So I think for that that briefing, it would probably, if Commissioner Fye can join you, that would probably be really great. Okay.
So I do want to clarify, Commissioner Willie, you do have a small portion. What we'll do is provide the map. Erin can get that out to you all.
Oops, you're on mute, Jerry.
I don't have the map in front of me, so please don't ask me map details right now. But we did recently look at that.
Send it to all of us. We'll all be better informed.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be a good idea. Yeah, it'd be a smidgen, I could only guess. But anyway, yeah, go ahead and send that to me. Thank you.
Cool.
Is smidgen a technical term? The mapping term.
Well, great. We took care of all those items. Thank you. Is there anything else that we need to carry forward or take care of in today's roundtable? I'm gonna have to do a better job of estimating the time on these. It's nice to be done early.
No, it's always better to be done early than late. So no, you're doing great on that.
Thank you, Jerry. All righty. Well, without further ado, unless anyone has anything else to say in closure, we'll be adjourned. Okay. Bye, everybody. See you next Tuesday.